Everyone. Thank you all for being here. Obviously, another exciting week coming up as we travel to NC State. We'll have Coach Huff here and then players afterward. He'll open with a statement. Please raise your hand. We'll get the mic to you, okay? Thank you.
How's everybody doing? Glad you guys are here. Appreciate everyone that came out this week for homecoming. A really good environment, really good atmosphere. The players appreciate it. I appreciate it. I think the community has had a really good September, and it's been really good to show what Huntington is truly about in multiple areas, not just football, but the entire athletic department and all that's going on here at the university. Phenomenal win last week against a really tough opponent. We talked earlier in the week about how what they did kind of stressed you a little bit, schematically on offense, and it put us in some positions where we had to make a decision. Do you defend the pass or do you defend the run? That system forces you to do one or the other. We defended the pass pretty decent. We didn't do a great job of tackling the run. They did some really positive things as well. They made some adjustments in their blocking schemes and adjustments in their runs to kind of take advantage of what we were doing. Ultimately, as a team, we were able to come out with a win. Players of the game from last week, Eli Austin on defense, J.J. Roberts on defense. On offense, Mason Pierce and Caleb Coombs. And then on special teams, Ishmael Roy and Jaden Harrison. Ishmael Roy actually transferred from ODU this spring. So there's another picture or model of how the transfer portal kind of puts you in some different mindsets. So happy we had him. He did some really good things for us on special teams. He's a walk-on for us and is playing unbelievably well right now and doing a really good job. So on the NC State, an extremely tough challenge. This will be the toughest team we will play all year. Based on what I've seen in film, I haven't had a chance to watch the other teams in the conference, so I can't say that they are or are not better than NC State. But as far as what we've seen, they're going to be tough. Coach Dave Doran, a lot of respect for him, probably the model of consistency. Whenever you're at a program in today's game for 10 or more years, it's really unbelievable, with the turnover in coaching, the turnover in administrators and staffs. But what he's done there at NC State's been phenomenal. A lot of respect for him. You can see he's built a program, obviously not just coming in with something new. Obviously they've had coaching changes and coordinator changes, but the culture and the mindset and how these guys play, it stands out on film. So a lot of respect for him. They've been open door to us. A lot of times in the summer we do travel camps, and you can go to some of these major colleges and get a chance to see, multiple student athletes, and they've let us in and opened the doors for us every year. There's a couple guys on staff that have coached here as well. So they've been great. So a lot of respect for Coach Doran and his staff. Really good football team. Defensively, I don't know if they're going to let us off the bus. So we're going to have to get to the stadium before them because they may blitz the bus driver, and they're good. They do not give up a lot of rush yards. They do not give up a lot of points. And they play with a lot of passion and energy. They fly around. They've got really good players. Number 11, Peyton Wilson, probably one of the better players that I've seen on film in a long time. He does a lot of really good for them. Plays with the right attitude, plays with the right energy. He is a ACC version of the kid we just played at ODU, Henderson, who had a phenomenal day against us as well. They just made a change at quarterback. When you look at it from they made a change standpoint, they're not going to change the entire system. They're going to be able to do what they do, which is really good on offense. They just got Coach Anai in, so you could tell they're kind of in the first year, but their concepts, where the areas of the field they're trying to attack, stress you on defense. And Morris is very capable of running, throwing, creating a lot of problems for defenses and us. Obviously, we've had our issues with running quarterbacks, so we got to continue to refine the fundamentals and techniques to get those kind of guys on the ground and still be able to play our normal defense. But it's going to be an extreme challenge. This is not, hey, here come the herd, and you just stack on another win. We are going to have to play really well. We're going to have to eliminate a lot of the Marshall beaters that have been showing up, in our games. We cannot go down and spot this team 18 points. We cannot do that. We cannot go down and turn the ball over. We cannot go down and miss tackles. We're going to have to play really, really well in order to be successful. I think we're more than capable of doing it. The question is going to be, we got to figure out this week, are we willing? Are we willing to do the things that we need to do consistently on game day to get the results we want? Are we willing to tackle? Are we willing to block? Are we willing to throw and catch? Are we willing to take care of the ball? Are we willing to match their physicality? That'll be determined at Saturday at 2 o'clock. We've had a great week of practice so far. Guys got the right mindset. So it's going to be a challenge. So looking forward to it. And with that, I open up with questions.
Coach, you mentioned the struggles against some running quarterbacks. Where does that come from? Is that an eyes issue? Is that just
missed tackles? We're not doing a really good job of tackling in space right now. It's two parts, right? We play really, really hard, really, really fast. And sometimes we're playing so hard and so fast we are borderline out of control. And typically what happens is when it's the running back, there's 4 or 5 guys that are running. So if the first guy misses him, the second guy gets him. Typically when it's the quarterback, they've had some type of, I won't say deception, but the line's going that way, running back's going that way. He's got open space. We got to get him on the ground. So we got to continue to work fundamentals. It's not an excuse, but it's where we are in football, right? You don't tackle as much in camp. You don't tackle as much in practice. So it kind of gets you going. And it hasn't been one guy, so it's not like, hey, we can take out, this person and replace it. It's been different guys 1 or 2 times that has turned into big runs. So it's a collective issue. We got to do a little bit better job of leveraging the ball too. Sometimes we're creating so much space that, you couldn't tackle an elephant in the space that we're creating because we're not necessarily, we're playing so fast sometimes and so aggressive that we're creating extra space for the runners. And that's something we got to be prepared for and clean up this week.
Now that you've had some time to look at Cam's performance outside of the game, what'd you see that maybe stood out to you? It was on just eyesight alone, watching the game, looked like you had a tremendous performance.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me, I don't know if you remember the Virginia Tech game, in the opening drive, he threw the pick to the Tyrannosaurus Rex of a linebacker that they had. And it kind of rattled him. He didn't really kind of get back on, on Kilder. It wasn't like he was all, but it kind of hurt him. It bothered him. He doesn't like turning the ball over. One of the things that he came into the season wanting to do was take care of the ball. He did that up until, that point, and it rattled him. Saturday, he went down, he turned it over, and he came right back and made a play. And that's the kind of growth that you like to see. Sometimes, the quarterback gets way too much praise, way too much credit. We know that. But sometimes you like to see, you always talk about how does the O-line respond when they give up a sack, or how does the running back respond when he gets tackled in the backfield, or receiver respond when he drops the ball. Well, how does the quarterback respond when he doesn't do great? And I thought Saturday he responded really well. I thought there were 2 plays the whole day that, if he could have back, he would have back. The one interception, and then the one where he's geared to throw the ball to Ali, and he realizes he's a little deep. He probably holds on a little too long, and we get the lateral. Now, off of that, we get the lateral, and he makes an unbelievable effort play. And that's who we are. The effort is non-negotiable. The execution, the consistency, the details, we work on that. You got to bring the effort every day. So he could have threw that ball in the dirt and put his head down and, whoa, it's me. Nope. He got on his horse. He set his angle. He got the guy on the ground. 3 plays later, we get a touchdown. So those are the things that, you may not see on the stat sheet, but us evaluating every position, especially the quarterback, those are the things you got to see. He's going to have some issues. He's going to make another mistake. I know everyone thinks he should play perfect. Quarterback is the only position, and head coach, that people think should be perfect. It's not the reality of it. I told him I made a mistake in the game. We had a play called, and we were kind of trying to get him to jump off sides. And the clock was running down, and in that moment, I didn't want to burn another timeout in order to save 5 yards. So I probably should have called timeout, or we probably should have just ran the play instead of trying to get him off sides. We all make mistakes, but how do you respond from those mistakes? Cam went down, tackled the guy. 3 plays later, Eli Austin probably makes the play of the season so far. But if Cam doesn't get that guy on the ground, they get a touchdown, and who knows how the momentum may swing. So I thought how he responded, to even some of the good stuff he did, was really good. It gave us a lot of courage that, hey, we can let him play free. We know he can bounce back. Gave his teammates a lot of courage that, hey, even if this guy makes a mistake, he's going to bounce back.
Coach, you mentioned the quarterback switch. Just how hard is it, or what challenges, I guess, are presented when you're trying to prepare for a quarterback who hasn't played a snap so far this season?
For NC State, you could go play quarterback. They're that good. I mean, it's really – I know they got problems too, and they got problems in their own building, but it's really not going to make a lot of difference because they got really good players around them. And I think sometimes that's what happens. The quarterback gets so much pressure. The other players around him got to play well. If the O-line is not blocking and the receivers aren't catching, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Now, the beauty of it is there is some film out there from last year, because he did play. The system is not going to change because they're in year one. So it's still going to be in the realm of things that you're going to be able to see and do. But we got to tackle whoever is out there. We got to leverage them. We got to do a really good job. Obviously, both quarterbacks have run the ball. So even the guy that was there, Brennan, was running the ball some. I think these are two different type guys. So we expect the system to be the same. We went back from last year and watched some kind of, when he did play, just to get an idea of, his athleticism, his timing, those type of things. And this is not coach speak. It's really about what we do. It does not matter, who they put in where. We've got a lot of things that we've got to get cleaned up. We've been I said it after the game, we've been living on a prayer. You can't turn the ball over 3 times and expect to get 3 turnovers and make it 0 and have 10 penalties, and they had 9, and you're right on the edge. So we've got a lot of things that we got to clean up. I think having a little bit of a library from last year helps, and I think just kind of understanding the system's going to be similar. Maybe not exactly the same. Maybe Morris likes certain pass plays that the other kid didn't, but you're not getting where they were, and then they're going to triple option. So you can kind of base your game plan based on the system rather than the person.
Coach, calendar flips from September to October, really excellent September, and obviously this month totally different. On the road, 3 out of 4, and the only game at home is on a Thursday. And I know the way you guys sort of develop and work on things throughout the summer. What has the plan been kind of heading into this month as what you're going to be looking to try to do as a team?
Well, the plan is the plan. I will say that we've gotten information out of our control that is going to force us to have to adjust. Game times matter. Travel matters. Kids going to class and getting work done and getting prepared for a game the following week on a Thursday on a short week. Those things matter, and those are out of our control. So when you get a certain game time one week and then you turn around and you play a short week, you got to manage that. And then you got to manage the travel. We don't teleport to these places. And then you got to make sure these guys are going to class because they are student athletes. Then you got to make sure their mental health is right because they're not computers. So they need their free time. They need their time to do the things that they need to do. So we're going to have to manage the plan that we have with the information that we've gotten to try to make sure that student athlete welfare is the number one plan before we can start getting X's and O's together. So we're going to have to kind of look at best practices, to be able to manage both. Some things are out of our control, so we've just got to manage what we can control.
Coach, similar to that, a conference game you already played, and then it's kind of rare to play a non-conference October game. Any kind of mental gymnastics?
Yeah, that was something that we kind of, when we made, or when the change was made, with Navy early in the season, that was something that, as my granddad used to say, those are just the fleas that come with the dog. You have to find a team that has an opening when you have an opening. I will, my hat's off to, Christian Spears and the administration. They did everything they could to try to make it competitive and, and fit where we could. This is what we had. Obviously we got to go play. The players are excited. I think, but again, managing all that, right? Because you're playing a different type of body. You're playing a different type of size. And, now we don't get that bye week to kind of reload before we get into the conference schedule. So we got to manage it. We've been trying to manage it through making sure we're rotating enough guys in games to get them quality work, but also win the game. Practice is important because we don't know when the next guy is going to be up. So it's a challenge. It's part of it. We got to kind of manage what we can.
You talk about the first time you saw Owen Porter and 3 years later. Is he a guy you're going to talk about for your entire career? Like, there was this guy at Marshall who was an absolute football machine. How special has he been?
Yeah, I mean, I think not only myself, but I think this Huntington community is going to talk about Owen Porter for a really long time. Obviously, his presence on the football field has been, phenomenal. But I think what he's done as a leader on this football team in this community, representing, the state of West Virginia, representing the tri-state area, is something that people will talk about at barbecues and golf courses for years to come. I think, again, it's when you get the combination of really good person, really tough football player, really passionate about what they do. I think that hits home with a lot of people. I can't tell you how appreciative I am of everything he does. And I'm amazed every day because he keeps going. It's kind of like, okay, the Energizer Bunny's going to stop at some point, and he doesn't. He loves this place. He loves playing football. He loves his teammates. I wish we had 100 of them, but obviously we'll miss him. So I'm going to try to enjoy every minute that I have with him, and hopefully his teammates get a chance to kind of let them affect them as well.
You've talked about the need to execute well on all three phases of the game this weekend. On offense in particular, how do you make sure that the ball's continuing to move even late in games when you have that lead and trying to protect it?
Pray. These guys are good on defense, man. I try not to stand up here and give you guys nonsense. I tell you guys every week, okay? Albany, their film looked better than it did last year. Told you guys that. ECU, their scheme stresses you a little bit because they're moving, they're slanting. You can't really come off the ball because this guy's moving, right? Who do we play after that? Virginia Tech, Power 5 school. It's going to be hard to move those guys. ODU, scheme-wise, puts you in a tough position because you got to make a decision. Do we cover the pass? Do we cover the run? These guys, real. Tony Gibson has been there for a long time. Obviously, has been here in this state. Had really good defense at West Virginia. They're real. Nobody has run the ball on them. Nobody. Notre Dame split one out because the kid slipped in the rain, and I'm still wondering if he slipped or if it was just the luck of the Irish. But it's hard to run the ball on these guys, so we got to be creative. We got to be creative. You still got to try to run the ball. You still got to manage the clock. You still got to try to run your offense. But, they're committed to stopping the run, which is good. If you look at us last year, we were committed to stopping the run. But we've got to come up with ways, formations. We've got to come up with ways to try to create advantages. And our guys are going to have to play well. This is not the game where you can have 4 guys making a block and 1 guy not. This is not the game where you can have, be on an edge, where you can, not have your hands in the right place. We've got to play well. They understand that. But I don't want, the Herd fans going down there thinking it's going to be, jolly everybody. No. It's going to be grit, grind. It's going to be grit. It's going to be grind. And hopefully we have enough consistency in our execution that over time we're able to say we ran the ball efficiently. What that looks like on the stat sheet, I don't know. We're a run team, so we have to run the ball. But we're not going to be 350 yards rushing, and, hey, everybody get back on the plane, everybody smiling. It's going to be a grit and grind. It's going to be managing, first and second down, managing, efficiency, getting the third down and being efficient, starting it over again. And that's what it's going to take. Now, don't get me wrong. Rasheed Ali's a good running back. But when the teams commit to stop the run, you got to find other ways to run the ball, move the ball, and be efficient.
Kind of going off of that, obviously, every week it's important to score early and fast. And you've mentioned, I think it was after the ECU game, that you guys can't be coming into these games going down 7, 10 points. That kind of happened again on Saturday. Now you go now to Raleigh. I'm pretty sure this one's a sellout game. Just how important is that going to be this week in particular?
Yeah, I've said it for the last 3 weeks. Maybe I'm like cursing us. You got to start fast, and starting fast doesn't mean you go down on the first drive and score a touchdown. Or starting fast doesn't mean that you come out on the first drive of defense and you 3 and out them. What it means is you go back to your tendencies, your tips, your reminders, the fundamental things that you left the locker room talking about what we were going to do. We haven't done that. The second play of the game goes 60-some-odd yards. Well, we didn't talk about that in the locker room. The first drive, we move the ball down the field efficiently, we turn it over. So those are the things we can't do. It doesn't mean we have to come out and throw one play touchdown, everybody's excited. But what we've got to do, if we say, hey, we're going to make sure we do fundamentally We're fundamentally sound. We're taking care of the ball. We're executing. Great. We may drive down the field and get 3. We may drive down the field 12 plays and punt. But what we've done is we've come out, we've started fast with the things we can control. Defensively, we may go 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plays and make them punt, or 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plays and force a field goal. But to me, that's starting fast. It just doesn't mean scoring. What we have not done in the last couple of games is start fast. Flip it around, last week against Virginia Tech, we throw a pick on the first drive. That's not starting fast. So we've got to start fast, meaning we've got to leave the locker room and hit the field and execute the things that we say we're going to execute, because those are the things you talk about all week. And that doesn't mean, hey, we're throwing the first play, 80 yards. That means, hey, come out, we got to get good footwork, good hands, good hat placement. We got to finish our blocks. We got to make good reads. Defensively, we got to get lined up. We got to tackle the ball when we get to us. We got to make sure we're making the right adjustments, the right calls, all of those things. That's kind of what starting fast means. And we haven't done that. And luckily, we've been able to rebound. I think that's probably a bigger trait of our team than how fast we start, is our ability to be resilient and rebound. But you can't keep spotting teams 18, 14, 7, 10. That's just not sustainable. And not that our guys are going out there trying to do that, but that's the place we've been putting ourselves in, and we've got to kind of find a way not to. All right. Thanks, guys. Look forward to seeing everybody down at Raleigh, and go Herd.